Welcome, everybody. Hello. And thank you for coming to the Other Atheists. My name is Onur Romano. I am the co-organizer of CFIC Victoria branch and branch manager for the CFIC virtual branch and a board member. CFIC is Canada's only national nonprofit with the mission of promoting and educating the public on critical thinking, science, and secularism. We help people to make decisions based on evidence, rational thinking, and compassion. In alignment with our mission, we hold events like these to provide an opportunity for subject matter experts, intellects, and free thinkers to engage with you. Most recently, we have moved many of these events online. To minimize background noise, we have put everyone on mute. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand. I myself will be moderating. I will acknowledge that I have seen your raised hand by writing your name in the chat window. When the opportunity presents itself, you will be unmuted and have the opportunity to ask a question. We rely entirely on donations and memberships to allow us bring you events such as this. So please visit our website or email me for more information about how to become a member or make a donation. Now, I would like to introduce you to this evening's speaker, Ridvan Aydemir, better known as the Apostate Prophet. Ridvan is a Turkish ex-Muslim who was born and raised in Germany. He spent 10 years of his life in Turkey, and now he lives in the United States. He became a well-known critic of Islam with his bold criticism, which he publishes in the form of concise YouTube videos that discuss serious problems in humorous ways. He is a YouTuber with more than 200,000 subscribers and growing. Especially due to his very religious history, Ridvan vows to be a critic of Islam for the rest of his life and wants to raise awareness about blasphemy and apostasy laws, the treatment of minorities in the Muslim world, and the suffering of those who turned their back on Islam. While working on books, videos, and public speeches regarding Islam, skepticism, and enlightenment, Ridvan also aspires to be a psychologist one day. Welcome, Apostate Prophet. You are on mute, really?
Okay, now, thank you so much, Onur. Thank you for your words. I guess this is me going ahead with the speech, right?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much, Onur. Thank you, everybody else who is involved. Thanks for the opportunity. Thank you for your words, Onur. I appreciate it very much. As Onur mentioned, by the way, also thanks to everybody else who is here and who will be listening to this afterwards. I hope you don't regret this. I will say things today that may sound a little bit angry, and they come from a place of, I would say, frustration. I'm ready to admit that. I will not tell anybody to not take it personally. On the contrary, I want people to take this personally. I even want to go as far as to blame people and directly to speak to people. I want people to feel guilty. I want people to feel bothered. I want people to feel a little bit, at least, disturbed about things that go on in the world. I assure you, I take this definitely very personally. In fact, I have to take this personally. Give me just a second. I have forgotten to arrange one little thing. Okay, perfect. My name is Ridvan Aydemir, as Onur mentioned already. That's of Turkish origin. Some of you may know me as Apostate Prophet. I've been doing criticism of Islam for quite a while now, for about 2 to 3 years online. I was born in Germany into a Turkish Muslim family. And Germany is a very secular society, a very liberal society, whereas my family were very religious people, or still are very religious Muslim people. The two don't combine very well, which means that I made many experiences growing up in such a liberal society that are that can be quite unpleasant. When I was 16 years old, my parents wanted to move to Turkey because to them, Germany was a society in which they are not supposed to live, a society that suffers from religious corruption, that in Islamic terms is a land of war and corruption, which is why I was forced to move to Turkey with them. I didn't have any other choice. I tried to live in Turkey. I couldn't really do it. I couldn't really adapt to the society in Turkey. I lived there for 10 years. And afterwards, I found myself in America, where I feel free once again. It's really, it is a great feeling. I realized how tired I am, how much anxiety I have from from the decades that I have left behind. But I also feel very happy and very free at the same time. It's great to be in a society where you can have freedom, where you can say the things that you want to say, where you can make life choices without most people judging you, without getting in trouble for that, because it's not like that in many other parts of the world. I want you to imagine a scenario where America, I really want you to imagine a scenario where in America, in the United States of America, and in Canada, and in other Western societies, it is illegal to change your religious beliefs. Just imagine that. How would it be if, for example, in America and in other Western societies, it was illegal and punishable by jail, punishable by different kinds of torture, and even punishable by death to convert to Islam, for example? Let me just give this example. I know it's a very sensitive issue, a very heated topic, but imagine a scenario where in the United States of America, it is illegal to be a Muslim. It is illegal to convert to Islam. A Muslim is punished with death. And this is quite the norm. People don't even say anything about it. People don't complain about it. In fact, if you raise the issue, people tell you that that you're just making a big deal, that there is nothing to complain about. And others even comment and make fun of this issue. Others even think, well, this is completely normal. Muslims should be executed. Muslims should be killed because their existence is detrimental to society. People make memes and jokes about it. Imagine such a society. What would you do? What would you think? Of course, this would never happen. This is a very unlikely scenario. It's fantasy that would never come true. So it is just something that is in our imagination, that can only be in our imagination. Just the travel ban, for example, a travel ban that involved Muslim countries or countries with large Muslim populations was heavily criticized. It caused a lot of chaos everywhere in the world. Minor issues, minor words by the president or by other people about religious minorities cause huge issues. Okay, but let's say the topic Muslim is kind of a foreign issue. We're speaking mostly as atheists here. I know many people who attend this event, many people who are listening right now at the moment and who will be listening later are atheists, Western atheists. Imagine it was forbidden to become an atheist, to stop believing in Christianity. How would that be? I mean, up until now, we were talking about others, but imagine it is not allowed for you. There are many of you who were Christians before. Imagine it is not allowed for you to stop believing in Christianity, to become an atheist. It is not allowed for you to say, I don't believe in God anymore. I don't believe in Jesus anymore. How can you imagine that? How would the world look? What would it look like in your neighborhood? Of course, we are very far from that. We are in times where people can share memes online and make jokes about Jesus, make jokes about Mary, where they can say, Jesus didn't die for your sins, he just had a bad weekend. Or where people say stuff like, Mary just made that stuff up because she didn't want to be caught as an adulteress. These are jokes that are quite common. We say F God, F Jesus. We make jokes about the hands of Jesus and all that. This is all quite normal, and nothing really happens to anybody who makes those jokes. This is the reality. But imagine, what would your life look like if you weren't even allowed to say, I am an atheist? If you weren't even allowed to say, I don't believe in Christianity? If you weren't even allowed to say, I don't have any respect for Jesus or for Christianity? Of course, such a scenario would only take place in fictional works. We have stuff like that in novels. We have stories like that in books, in movies, in video games, in TV series that are quite popular, by the way. And let's be real for a second, such things will never happen in the West. These are just matters of our imagination that we tell each other, that we enjoy watching on the screen because it feels nice to imagine a dystopian future that we are all scared of. Well, such a dystopia exists in other cultures around the world. It exists in many cultures around the world. We have a dozen countries in which it is not legal to leave the Islamic faith, and in which it is punishable by death to leave the Islamic faith. In a dozen countries, theoretically, you can be punished with the death penalty simply for no longer believing in Islam. Imagine, what is belief? Belief is just saying, I'm not convinced by this anymore. I don't believe in this anymore. Yes, I was raised with this. I was told that this is the only truth there is, but I simply do not believe in this anymore. And that is your crime. And for that, you can be killed according to the laws of a dozen countries in the world today, in the 21st century, in 2020. That is a reality. So such a dystopia is actually existing in the world. And when we raise our voices against that, we are being ridiculed. We are being called extreme. We are being called bigots, Islamophobic, and so on. But I will come to that. It's not even just about those 12 countries. There are more countries in which it is not allowed to preach a different religion. There are more countries in which it is not allowed to practice some religions openly. It is not allowed to convert other people to a different religion. So you cannot go into the streets and tell somebody else to convert to your religion. That is illegal, and you can go to jail for that. You can be tortured for that. You can get all kinds of very atrocious punishments for that. In many other countries, you are not allowed to voice why you don't believe in Islam, because if you explain why you don't believe in Islam, that will be counted as blasphemy. And blasphemy, which means, just an example, someone asks me, why don't you believe in Islam? And I say, for example, why would I believe in this religion? Because the main character of this religion is Muhammad, and Muhammad's morals were unacceptable. He had a child bride, he had 11 wives and made this and this. If I make that statement to explain why I don't believe in Islam, which I wouldn't argue is necessarily a great reason, but some people have moral reasons why I don't believe in this religion. If I made that explanation, I would have committed the crime of blasphemy in many countries. I would be a criminal now. I could be punished with the death penalty, or with fines, or with jail, with torture. Even in a secular country like Turkey, which claims to be a very modernized, a very westernized country, I can be punished with jail and fines if I make that statement. Of course, these things happen very far away, in a distant reality. Between us and those things, or between you and those things, there are TV screens or phone screens. There is the internet, or there is a giant ocean. These things don't happen next to you. You don't directly witness them. You just hear about them. To many people in America, those things are just news, statistics, movies, TV shows, video games. So even if these things sound very dark, very bad, that's all it is. It is just information that you receive through digital means. What does it really mean? Well, let me tell you what it really means. I was planning on preparing something completely different to use in this speech to you. But over the last 2 weeks, I've experienced a lot of abuse on the internet. I don't necessarily feel traumatized about it. To be very honest, I even made a lot of fun of it and ridiculed the people who have directed their abuse at me. But recently, for example, over the last week, I experienced that currently the most popular, the most loved Muslim apologist told me to go and commit suicide, to jump off a tall building. That's literally what he told me. This is the most popular Muslim apologist. He also told me before that I shouldn't be complaining and whining about the fact that I would be normally killed under the ideal laws that should exist in our world. He told me many other such things before. He made sexual suggestions. He told me things about rape, about bestiality, many other things. But the main issues are, he told me to commit suicide, to kill myself, and that I shouldn't complain just because I have a problem with the fact that I should be killed according to his ideal system. This is something that happens between us and Muslim apologists. I repeat, this is currently the most popular Muslim apologist online who told me these things. Many people have seen this. If I count my audience and his audience and many other people who got involved in this and who saw that in different ways, I would say at least 50,000 or even at least 100,000 people have witnessed this. If currently one of the most famous, one of the most popular Christian apologists said stuff like that to Western ex-Christian atheists, it would be chaos. It would be, I don't know, I can't even think of a proper word to describe it, but it would be chaos. It would be all over social media. It would possibly even be on the news. It would be everywhere. People would be going crazy about it. People would spread this. People would tell each other. Even people who don't even care about belief and disbelief in pop culture would spread this to each other. Would talk about how disgusting, how awful this is. They would talk about how disgusting Christians are, how disgusting Christianity is. They would talk about how we don't live in the Middle Ages anymore. When will we go forth? They would start insulting Christianity, insulting the Christian figures, and so much more. With the most popular Muslim apologists saying these things to me, nothing happened, except that very few people raised awareness about this and said, look, this is the state of Muslim apologists. Look, this is the state of the Muslim community. In fact, speaking of the Muslim community, you may say, well, this was probably just one person. This was probably just one Muslim apologist. But speaking of the Muslim community, not a single Muslim in the audience, and as said, thousands of people witnessed this, not a single Muslim person has raised an objection to this and said, hey, brother, stop it. This is not what we do. We are Muslims. We're not supposed to be like this. Actually, let me correct that. One Muslim, yes, one Muslim actually came out and said, hey, this is not the way. Yes, one Muslim. I even noted his name. He called himself Mr. Muslim, and he even posted a YouTube video just to get his voice out there and to say, hey, it is not okay to tell people to commit suicide and to take golden showers and to be sexually assaulted by each other. This is not okay. We shouldn't be doing this. This was one person out of so many Muslims who told this guy that he shouldn't be using this language, who told this guy that he shouldn't be telling people to commit suicide, who told this guy that he shouldn't be celebrating murder, killing, slaughter, death. One person. If a Christian apologist came out and told you disgusting things similar to this, most Christians out there, or at least other popular Christian apologists, would come out and say, hey, this is disgusting. This is not the way. This is not Christ-like, or whatever terms you want to use. This is not how we do things. That's what it would look like. But when we're talking about Islam and Muslims, unfortunately, it looks very sad, very dirty, very dark. The issue is, I understand people are not outraged about this as much as they are supposed to be, because people somehow get used to the fact that when we talk about Islam and Muslims and Muslim apologists, things like death penalties, killing over blasphemy, killing over apostasy are normal things, which means, well, we have all gotten used to that. It's no big surprise, which apparently also means we shouldn't be raising our voices about that. We shouldn't be shocked about that. Isn't that kind of a sad issue? In the West, among Western atheists, we talk a lot about the struggles of atheists. We talk a lot about, the bad sides of religion and the struggles of religious societies. We have all the time in the world to talk about minor issues, minor problems that people face in the West. Minor issues that people have at school, minor issues at some bakeries. People go nuts because a baker didn't want to bake a cake for specific people. People go nuts over these things. We take a lot of time to talk about these things, but people just find it too effortful or too boring or too uninteresting. I don't know what it is to talk about people who defend death penalties for apostates, death penalties for blasphemers. to raise their voices against people who tell people to commit suicide. This is the world we are in. When I left Islam, after I stopped believing in Islam, and after I stopped believing in God, I came out and I was frustrated due to all the things that I went through. And I thought, since I have the possibilities to connect with people in the Western world, to connect with atheists in the Western world, I could connect with them. I could join them in their struggle against religion. I could make fun of God. I could make fun of Islam and Christianity and religious beliefs and myths and all that. I was really frustrated. I hated religion. I hated religious buildings. I hated religious sentiments. I hated God. I hated everything that was connected to religion, because I left a life behind that was entirely, for over 20 years, built on the fact that I'm supposed to be scared to death of disbelievers, scared to death of questions, scared to death of everything. That my entire existence is just built upon a God who is very sadistic and who tortures you in your head day and night as you grow up from childhood into adulthood. I was frustrated about that. I was frustrated that I was brought up not being allowed to listen to music, which is such a great pleasure, which I love so much I can't stop doing it anymore. I was frustrated that I grew up not being allowed to even talk to the other sex, to women. I was frustrated that I grew up in Germany, in a society where we consider each other equals, where we don't even make a difference between women and men. And I wasn't even allowed to have female friends. I was so frustrated that I grew up in a society where my life was so restricted and I had to participate in every dumb thing that my parents followed. And I was constantly told that I'm not to trust the disbelievers. I'm not to trust the immoral Christians. I'm not to trust the Jews, who are basically pigs and rats, according to the Islamic scripture. I was frustrated by being brought up this way, by becoming religious later at some point and finding out how disgusting this religion is and what it does to you mentally. And I thought Western atheists were just as frustrated as I am. Well, I had to find out after joining Western atheists that they're not frustrated at all, that they're not angry. Yes, they claim to be angry. They claim to have problems with religion. They claim to have issues with religion. And yes, I have to say that there are some people, a minority of people among ex-Christians or atheists in Christian societies, who really went through some bad things. And I would never want to, dismiss or minimize their struggle. But most people in the West didn't go through anything that I went through, or that people who grew up with Islam or who have left Islam behind go through. So it's completely understandable that people in the West, that atheists in the West, are not frustrated, are not hateful, are not disgusted, not remotely to the same extent that I am or that others are. Normally, naturally, when I joined these atheist societies, I quickly understood that if I criticize Islam, that if I say things about Islam, even if they are much more harmless than the things that ex-Christians say about Christianity, I will quickly be attacked by people who 5 minutes ago claimed to be against all religions. It will be said to me, hey, don't single out Islam, that's Islamophobic. Hey, don't say that, that's bigotry. Hey, don't say this is racist and hateful. I am constantly told, I'm still told by many people who come from a Christian culture and who are atheists, that I shouldn't be talking about this, shouldn't be saying this, shouldn't be doing that. And yes, these are some people who bring politics into this and who label people like me, who are completely rightfully angry, as hateful people. But this is an uncomfortable example. There are examples among regular, well-known atheists, even big atheist voices, who run big shows that are meanwhile well-known in the atheist community, who don't tell us, hey, don't criticize Islam, that's hateful, but who show their rejection of us in a different way. Who, for example, if we are talking about Islam and if we are criticizing Islam, are careful with us. We can feel that. It's very easy to detect. It's very easy to feel. It's very easy to perceive that so many people among you, Western atheists, yes, I'm speaking to you, Western atheists, ex-Christian atheists, in Christian or post-Christian societies. It is very common among you people to have this attitude like, oh, you're talking about Islam, you're criticizing Islam. Okay, well, please stay over there. Let's not talk about this. Let's talk about Jesus. Let's talk about how ridiculous it is to believe that people will burn in hell. Let's talk about the story of Mary. Let's talk about Noah and how many people, how many animals could or couldn't fit onto that ship. Let's talk about those issues. Let's not talk about apostasy laws. Let's not talk about blasphemy laws. Let's not talk about bombs exploding in the street. Let's not talk about your best friend telling you to cut off your head and throw it into the streets of Istanbul because you said that you don't like Islam and that you don't believe in it anymore. Let's not talk about those things. Those things are too sensitive. Those things bother the average person in the West. Let's not talk about those things. Let's talk about bakeries. Let's talk about how a kid at school called another kid faggot, which is, yeah, it's a bad thing. It is a bad thing. But what happens if you do that? What happens if a gay person goes to school in the West and is called a faggot by others? Most people come out and correct this behavior. Most others come out and correct this behavior. People in charge, authorities come out and correct this behavior. The person who made this homophobic, rude remark is punished by society for the terrible thing that he has done. And that's good. And yes, we still go out and complain about how homophobic and how disgusting our society is. That's not really how it looks over there in the Middle East or in a regular Muslim country. Over there, the person who calls you a faggot at school, I'm not gay, by the way, I'm just speaking for many other gay people whom I know or who have conversed with me and who will be ready to loudly complain to you if you just want to listen to them for a second. I'm speaking for those. Those people are called faggots, are called rats, are called disgusting, are called subhumans, are called worth killing in the Islamic world. And the people who call them so, the people who harass them, who say disgusting things to them, who beat them up for being gay or for being non-religious or for being all kinds of things, are not punished by society. They are rewarded by society. The people in charge who would normally punish the rude person here in the West, reward that person in the West. The person in charge is the guy who calls you a faggot, even if you're not gay, just for having beliefs and ideas that don't conform with a Muslim society. The person in charge, be it a teacher or a doctor or a police officer, a politician, whoever it is, whatever position, whatever authority you want, those people are the ones who call you a faggot, who call you a monster, who call you a rat, who call you a pig, who call you all these names. That's what it looks like in that society. People there go through a hardship. On top of that, as said, we have apostasy laws. Imagine, let's leave the imagining out here. We have imagined at the beginning, and I don't think an average person in the West can imagine enough what it really is to be over there, or to be an ex-Muslim, to be a questioning Muslim, to be even in the most modern, the most secular Muslim worlds. I gave an example earlier about having your head cut off and thrown it into the streets. That's an actual example which happened in my life. I had a friend who was not the best of friends. Excuse me. He was not a very great friend. We didn't share a lot, but we had very many common friends. I worked together with him. We hung out together occasionally and had a good time in the evenings. But later, after I left Islam, and after I publicly talked about why I don't believe in Islam and why I don't like Islam and why I don't think Islam is useful for society, and I was really controlling my language and really trying to be as calm as possible as long as I lived there. That person who used to be my friend told me that next time he sees me, I should be careful because he desires to cut off my head with a knife that he bragged about and throw my head onto the Taksim Square, which is the biggest square in Turkey, which many people who have visited Istanbul should know. I don't know, if you have been to Istanbul, just imagine how it would be if some guy just cuts off my head or someone else's head and throws it into the square. I know, very graphic, but I'm sorry, that's what happens. That's what was described to me. That's what is described to many other people. That is what happens. That is what people say. You cannot even come close to imagine, to experience what people go through by just speaking about why they don't believe. And I'm talking about Turkey. I'm talking about myself. Maybe I'm even being very dramatic right now about a minor issue because this was just talk. Maybe he wouldn't do that. He wouldn't do that. He wouldn't actually do that because he would actually go to jail because that goes against the laws of the country. Yes. But there are many other places, like Pakistan, for example, where over the last decade, many people were lynched for very simple reasons. Lynched by dozens, hundreds of people in front of everybody's eyes, in front of their teachers, in front of the local police, in front of their principals, directors, in front of everybody, women or men, teenagers at school. They were lynched, kicked into their heads, beaten the hell out and killed. And even after their death, they lay there and people still kick on them. People still kick their heads. People let out all the blood. For what? Because somebody said that this person insulted the Holy Prophet. Do people have proof for that? No, nobody has any proof for that at all. It doesn't matter. What matters is that somebody said that this person insulted the Holy Prophet. Insulting the Holy Prophet can mean that you called him a pedophile because he married a 6-year-old child and had sexual intercourse with her when she was 9. It can mean that you called him a pervert, a warlord, because he relentlessly conquered society and started a huge conquest, a 1,400-year-long conquest that finally ended with the West defeating the Islamic Empire, which many people in the West are completely unaware of. No matter what you want, no matter what you say, even if you do the least of criticism against Muhammad, you have insulted the Holy Prophet, and you will be lynched in Pakistan, you will be jailed and fined and possibly hanged in Saudi Arabia, you will be stoned or hanged in many other countries, in Iran, even over there in Indonesia. In Africa, everywhere. You can have these problems everywhere. Problems. Yeah, that's really a very great way to put it. Problems. And I will give you another example of something that happened only a month ago. About a month ago, another Muslim apologist who has made himself a name online by being an outspoken defender of Islam, a Muslim apologist who doesn't shy back at all and who stands by everything that Islam actually stands for and who stands by everything that Islam preaches. Another Muslim apologist was in a conversation with me. I sat down with him on my YouTube channel, Apostate Prophet, and I asked him the question, so according to you, or according to Islam, what should happen to someone who leaves Islam? And he said, well, capital punishment. And I asked him, so let's talk about me. Let's make this personal. If we were living in an Islamic society, in your ideal Islamic world that you believe in, what should happen to me? And he said, well, we just talked about it, capital punishment, death. Yeah. And he explained this by saying that it is completely logically explicable because it is me who corrupts and endangers society by leaving Islam and making it public that I left Islam, making it public why I left Islam, and thereby destroying the afterlives of other people, which is why it is completely logically justifiable that I should be killed. I was calm and I didn't say anything. Of course, later I went on and said, hey, this is what happens, guys. If somebody in the West says, you know, a marriage is between a man and a woman, people freak out and say, wow, what a bigot, what a hateful thing to say. But if someone online, a Muslim apologist who has made himself a name, who closely works with Muslim institutions in America, tells me you should be killed in an ideal world. In my ideal world, you should be killed. If he says that, no one cares. No one gives a damn. No one cares about it at all. No one cares. No. I have raised the issue. Other people have raised the issue, but nobody cares. Why would you care? Why would you bother yourself with that? Doesn't everybody already know that Islam orders the death penalty? Why would you care about it? Afterwards, I was even made fun of because there was even a meme made about me. I should have actually prepared that and shared that. The meme about me was I was depicted as a small and weak dog, whereas he was depicted as a strong dog. And I say something along the lines of, boo, 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 I would be killed as an apostate under Islamic law. And he just says, yes. And people react with laughter to that. Over 1,000 people, I think even maybe meanwhile 2,000 people like that and share that, retweet that on Twitter, post that on Instagram, post it on Facebook. And guess what happens to that? Nothing. Guess what happens when you report it to Twitter or Facebook? Nothing happens. Guess what happens if you report that guy saying, I want to celebrate our day against homophobia with the Muslim way, extreme sports, and there is a picture of someone jumping off a high place. That is a joke about how in an Islamic society you would know a gay person would normally be thrown off a high building and then die in a very brutal way in order for society to observe what happens if you fall from such a height to such a low and die in such a brutal way, so that nobody else should commit homosexual intercourse in society. He made fun of that. What happens when you report it? Nothing. It is still there. If you want to verify this information, you can go on Twitter. You can check it for yourself. It is still there. Yes. And I would even think that if you make that joke in Germany and in France and in the UK and in many other European countries that have meanwhile punished people simply for burning the Quran or saying something inappropriate about Islam, nothing would happen to you. You would just get away with that joke. Nothing would happen to you at all. Why would anybody care if we can just talk about how it is bad to believe that other people should be burned in hell? Or why don't we talk about how many animals you can fit into Noah's Ark? Yeah, very interesting topic. Very nice topic. You can always talk about that. Always a very interesting topic to talk about if you're an atheist. Yes, I'm sorry. I may sound a little bit disrespectful here in the things that I say, but it is completely intended because, I mean, I have to tell you something. This is quite personal. I come from a very religious Muslim family, as said. I have many of the people that I've known throughout my life are very religious people. And I am now here not having any communications, not having any connections, any friendships with these people that I've met in my life. My relationship with my family is completely disturbed and shattered. They told me they would never accept what I am today. They would never accept what I'm doing today. And this is just me. I'm just giving an example of me, a very mild example. Others tell me left and right. We've had it on my channel. We've had it in so many other conversations, how their parents tried to kill them. Yes, there are here ex-Muslims online on YouTube telling people that their fathers try to kill them, try to come after them, try to suffocate and kill them, or chase them with hammers and with axes, with knives, with many other things. There are people who will tell you that their families have completely disowned them and told them that if they come back to their country, they will be put into a closet until they get their shit together, which means until they stop being homosexual and start believing in Islam and going to a mosque and praying again. This is life. This is reality for so many people. But these people don't hear it from me, hear it from all those people who speak online. For example, I can think of several names. Jimmy Bangash, who is one person who recently told me about this. Faye is another ex-Muslim who has a YouTube channel that has like 1,000 to 200 to 2,000 subscribers. And she's talking about how her father wanted to kill her after she left her very religious life, and people don't even care. Meanwhile, you can make up some story about how your parents wanted you to believe that Noah's Ark happened, but you didn't want to, and that's interesting, and people gather around that. But people tell you that they have survived their fathers and fled, and they are living in fear. They are completely lonely, but nobody even cares. Let me tell you about the problems of Western atheists. Yes, this will be maybe a little bit intrusive into your lives, into the things that you go through, that many atheists in the West go through. Let me tell you the problems that Western atheists have. You don't have any problems at all. You have no problems. No, you don't go through anything. Western atheists tell me that they had problems, that they went through hardships, that they go through hardships, that it is hard to be an atheist. No, stop talking. Stop wasting everybody's time. Stop talking. Nothing happens to you. You have no problems at all. You have absolutely no problems. You have no great problems. There are some people among you, as said, who went through some hardship, who have a past that really affects them very terribly. And I wouldn't want to take their voice away. There are definitely people who, especially those who grew up in very religious environments like Mormons or Mennonites or whatever it is, who really had a bad past and who would like to talk about it, and we should listen to them. But most people, most atheists in the West, don't have any problems. You are everywhere. You are free in the streets. You can wear shirts that declare how much you don't give a shit about Christianity or God, and nobody will do anything to you. You won't fear for your life. Nothing will happen. You can go to school with that stuff. Nothing will happen to you. You can go everywhere with that stuff. Nothing will happen to you. You can say whatever you want on social media. In the media, you are part of mainstream media. Yes, mainstream media. Most entertainers, most people out there are atheists. Atheism is everywhere. When I open Netflix, I hear about atheism. When I open Netflix, the most favorite show that all of America watches tells me about how God is just a joke, or says, fuck God. Yeah, that's a very, that's a line from a very popular TV show that is, I believe, on the network USA or something. I don't know. But you are part of pop culture, of mainstream media, of the streets, of your parents' homes. You are bothered by your grandpa praying at the dinner table, by some relatives talking about church on Christmas Eve. That's what you're bothered about. You have no problems at all. The biggest of your problems are a joke compared to people in the Muslim world. Your biggest problems are smaller than the smallest problems of people in the Muslim world. People need your help. People need your voice. If it means to change society, to do something, to raise your voice, to help people in need, to change minds, to make people think, to talk about skepticism, in order to really end atrocities in the world, if it really means to change the world, to make the world a better place, to be an atheist or to be a skeptic, then we all should be out there raising our voices for people in the Muslim world. We should be raising our voices and demanding countries to abolish their apostasy laws, or that we take action against them immediately. On the contrary, our governments are making deals with them. No, not just the Trump administration and their deals with Saudi Arabia. I'm talking about the Obama administration or the Canadian governments or the Western governments. They're making deals with these countries. Nothing happens to them. They can keep having it on their paper that an apostate should be killed or a blasphemer should be killed. Nothing happens to them. We atheists, people who claim to be enlightened, who claim to be voices of the future, who claim to want to change the world for the better, should be out there supporting those people who need your help, who need your and my help, who need our help, who want to survive, who are scared to say a word, who live in fear, who cannot use their names online when they talk about what they believe. Imagine that you don't have any options, any possibilities to ever express who you really are, what you really think, what you really believe in and don't believe in. Imagine you can never bring your name and your actual beliefs together because you would be in grave danger. People live like that. People actually live like that. People live an entire life and die secretly living their lives as ex-Muslims, as atheists, or even as Christians, as Jews, as other people, because they just don't want to tell anybody that they're not Muslims. They just don't want to tell anybody that they no longer believe in Islam, because they're afraid that they will be killed by society, by their parents, by their relatives, by their closest friends. They're afraid of being jailed, of being fined, and whatever it is. People live an entire life like that, and they die. Let me talk about Islamophobia. This is, I think, what I'm most frustrated about, because I believe this is the one thing that is so important that gives people like me and other ex-Muslims so much outrage. Let's talk about the one word that we have, which is Islamophobia or anti-Muslim bigotry. What happens nowadays if we go out and criticize Islam? We are being called Islamophobes, we're being called bigots, we're being called hateful. We come from places where we are not allowed to exist, but we are called Islamophobic if we just say this. In fact, if you take this speech, this 40-minute speech that I just gave, where I just wanted to tell you everything that so many other people cannot say, that so many other people sent me per email because they cannot express their voices and they just want me to speak for them, that are so angry. If you say these things that I say, that will already be labeled Islamophobia. That will already be labeled anti-Muslim bigotry. That will already be labeled as hateful. And it is not just the Muslims who are very sensitive about criticism because they learn all their lives that everybody hates Islam, because that is a core teaching of Islam, that the world hates you and that you must hate them in return. No, it is not just them. It is also the mainstream media. It is secular people. It is the regular atheist in the West who also comes and says, hey, don't be a bigot. Don't be racist. Don't be Islamophobic. Let's not say this. Let's not say that. Let's not say that. Let's talk about how many animals we can fit onto Noah's Ark. That's more important right now. Let's not talk about this. Islamophobia is an incredibly stupid word. I have no respect for it. I think it is incredibly ridiculous. It is full of crap. And it deserves none of my respect if this idea, if this ideology, if this religion doesn't allow me to exist. And I would ask you, everybody around the world, especially you, skeptics and atheist community, to come with me. Have no respect for the term Islamophobia. Tell people what this stuff really is about. Tell people what happens in the Middle East, in Africa, in Turkey, in South Asia, in Southeast Asia. Tell people what really happens. Tell people what this religion is really about. If you don't know about it, then learn from people who have experienced it and who have studied it, such as not only just myself, but so many other ex-Muslim voices who want you to hear their voices. Listen to them, learn from them. If you don't want to learn from us, if that is too much for you, read the book of Islam, the holy book of Islam, read the Quran, read something and inform people about the truth of what this really is. All we need from you as allies that you are supposed to be, because you are skeptics, I am a skeptic, you are atheists, I am an atheist. All we want is some solidarity, some support. It is an obligation to you. If you want to say that you are an atheist and that you are fighting for a better world, it is an obligation. I would even say I'm begging you, please open your eyes, help us, do something. And don't fight against us by silencing us, by siding with those who silence us, by using the term Islamophobia, by accusing us of anti-Muslim bigotry, by accusing us of being being problematic. You are fighting us, not helping us. You're not being neutral. You are actually fighting us. You are helping them. You're helping those systems that oppress us, that want to kill us. Don't fight us. Fight with us. Help us. And this is why I always say, and will say again, and will keep saying, stay away from Islam, everybody.
Well, thank you very much, Ridvan. I think this was your closing line. And
Yes.
now we are
Done.
happy to entertain comments and questions. I will be moderating. But before we proceed with your questions, I have another announcement about a fundraiser we are initiating. Let me first get you I am so sorry about this. I'm trying to figure out a way to how to get you off the screen. Oh, I did it. Okay, here we go. Yes. In Canada, being an atheist Muslim carries many challenges, including loss of family and culture. However, in some parts of the world, being an atheist Muslim could mean the loss of freedom or even loss of life, as Ridvan pointed out. Center for Inquiry Canada raises funds to help atheist Muslims escape persecution through our secular rescue program. Currently, CFIC is raising funds to assist Omer. Omer is fleeing persecution, torture, and imprisonment in Pakistan. As a youth, Omer began to question key tenets of the Muslim faith. This inquisitiveness put him at odds with family and friends. Eventually, Omer began to discuss his doubts outside of his family and was kidnapped and tortured. Going to police after this was not an option, and when he shared his story with his parents, they simply disowned him. Omer went to hiding. CFI United States assisted Ömer. Ömer is fleeing persecution and what happened was that after CFI US assisted Ömer in escaping Pakistan, he has been sponsored to come to Canada as a refugee. However, the process to get to Canada is full of red tape. CFIC has agreed to be a part of Ömer's aid. We are providing funds to support Ömer in a safe country while he awaits the news that he has completed Canada's process to come to the country. We could use your help. It costs just $600 per month to provide for all of Ömer's needs. We have been supporting Ömer through our members' generosity since February. However, those funds are coming to an end, and we are asking that you consider making a donation to Ömer's cause. 100% of the money you donate goes to our secular rescue program to support Ömer. Your donation will provide shelter or groceries for Ömer. And if you're interested in learning more or making a donation, you can visit the CFIC website and search for Ömer. I also have posted the link in the chat window. So I would like to thank you, Ridvan, for this enlightening and entertaining presentation. As I mentioned at the beginning, we are Canada's only national nonprofit for science and free thought. We hope that those of you who are not already members will consider purchasing a membership. We will include a link to our membership page in the chat window and through Meetup. I hope that you will consider joining. Not only does your membership provide financial support to CFIC, it also adds your voice to that of others who support science, critical thinking, and secularism. As we grow in numbers, so does our influence with government decision makers and the public opinion that guides them. We advocate for evidence-based decisions on government policy, healthcare, public education, and human rights. If concerns like climate change, blasphemy laws, education curriculum, medical pseudoscience are important to you, please become a CFIC member. In today's landscape, there are too many people spreading misinformation and trying to mislead you. Without us, the major influencers will continue to be the large, self-interested groups and institutions that benefit from making baseless claims and spreading pseudoscientific nonsense. So please consider membership. It's only $30 per year. Now, our next events. Join us on August 15 to hear John Mead tell his story about one of the greatest discoveries of the decade. John is an exceptional teacher who challenges his students to engage the world with questions and wonder. His excitement and passion are infectious and not to be missed. So you will find the event link for Meetup in the chat box. And the next event we have is Confronting Racism Rationally. CFIC is committed to creating public forums for civil discourse where we can learn from a variety of perspectives. Last month, CFIC asked Dr. Ajumu Nangwaya and Scott Fraser to discuss anti-Black racism in Canada. On August 29, we will have Helen Pluckrose speak on confronting racism. Join us for this webinar for her take on how the anti-racism movement of today has gone astray and its connections with critical race theory and postmodernism. Again, you can find the link for this event in the chat box. Finally, I would like to thank the CFIC Victoria and virtual branch volunteers who pulled this event together. If you would like to volunteer with CFIC, you can sign up on our website. There are many interesting positions for you to choose from. We are going to try to unmute all of your microphones now. And let's please give the apostate prophet a big round of applause. And thank you for this great night.